From the ancient Stonehenge
to Roanoke Island.
These are
5 greatest mysteries.
5!
How long does it take to figure out a mystery? Is 5,000 years long enough? The rock formation of Stonehenge still remains a mystery to historians to this very day. The stones date back farther in time than the pyramids of Egypt, and some have been known to come from lands over hundreds of miles away. Who built this ancient monument, and why? Theories have been as simple as suggesting they were built by Druid people, or as crazy as swearing up and down they were arranged by aliens. Stonehenge is now in modern-day Wiltshire, England, placed along the rolling hills of Salisbury Plain. Its genesis can be dated back farther in time to 2000 or 3000 BCE. The stone settings are arranged in a strangely accurate circular formation, with some of the stones being extremely heavy. Some of the rocks that make up the formation are larger sarsen stones and smaller bluestones, which have been said to have incredible healing powers. The biggest mystery of all remains as to where the stones came from, and how the builders of Stonehenge had the manpower to place them. The bluestones were found over 150 miles away, so how would they have gotten to a place so far without modern transportation? Its design doesn't resemble one of a building, a church, or even a marketplace. It seems to be strange and isolated, but there is some method to the rock's position in the field. And to be honest, it seems altogether unfinished. What was it for? Some studies claim that the rocks align with the rising sun during the summer solstice and the setting sun during the winter solstice. Maybe earthly rituals were ripe here. Most of the evidence found at the site suggests it was used as a burial ground or a place for cremations, making it the oldest Neolithic cemetery in the world. 56 fire pits have been found on the site. The site remained popular during antiquity and gained even more traction during the Roman period. And there are written accounts of the site dating all the way back to the medieval period. With the rising of modern civilization, Stonehenge has remained protected, and it will be enjoyed by generations to come. So what do you think? A sacred place or a former alien mound? Let us know in the comments below.
4!
Roanoke Island is home to one of America's first unsolved mysteries. In August 1587, a group of 115 English settlers settled off the coast of Roanoke Island, which is located in present-day North Carolina. They made a trip all the way across the Atlantic to start a new life. The governor of the island, John White, was supposed to go back to England and gather supplies for the upcoming winter, but when he got back, he found out that a war had broken out between the Spanish and the English. Queen Elizabeth demanded that every ship be used to battle the Spanish, including the one used to transport supplies to Roanoke. During this period of time, there was really nothing he could do, and the settlers would have to fend for themselves. John was unable to return until 3 years later, and when he got back, he discovered something shocking. He found absolutely no trace of the colony whatsoever, and there was only one clue to what had happened. The only thing he found was a wooden post with the word Croatoan carved onto it. Many theories have emerged since the disappearance, including the settlers assimilating with the native population in the area. Another theory is that they were killed by the Spanish. Where could 151 settlers have possibly gone? Artifacts that resemble this sword handle and these pieces of pottery were recently discovered just south of Roanoke. It's believed that the colonists made their way south to the Native American city of Hatteras in an attempt to trade supplies. Other items found in this area suggest that they must have ran out of resources and lived in peace amongst the Native Americans. This mystery might finally be solved with a little bit of DNA evidence.
3!
The Rockefeller family was one of the richest families in the 19th and 20th century due to the creation of the Standard Oil Company. 4 generations down the line, Michael Rockefeller, who dabbled in exploration and adventure, found himself on an expedition to New Guinea to find artifacts for his father's new museum. It was on November 17, 1961, when a 40-foot canoe carrying Michael, Renee Wassing, and 2 tour guides began to fill with water and eventually overturned. While still relatively close to the shore, the local tour guides dipped out to seek help. It would be more than 24 hours later when they would eventually arrive. Rockefeller and Wassing found themselves drifting further away, about 12 miles from the coast, before Michael made the call to jump ship and attempt the grueling swim to the shore. Much to the disapproval of his companion, Rockefeller's last noted words were, "I think I can make it." There are several different rumors surrounding his death, from overexposure to drowning to sharks, crocodiles, and most famously, by cannibalism. The Asmat tribe that Michael was so intent on studying was known for their hyper-violent behavior and cannibalistic tendencies. 7 years later, an editor from the New York Magazine traveled to New Guinea to confirm the fate of the young Rockefeller. Here, it was stated that he had been the victim of the Asmat tribe. Almost 40 years later, in 2004, Fraser Heston, in an attempt to create a documentary on the whole ordeal, found reels on reels of raw footage on the whole subject. This photo is taken from one of those reels and shows a white male rowing alongside the Papuan cannibals. Could this be the long-lost Rockefeller that was mistakenly pronounced dead? Would someone with the affluence and power of the famous family give up everything to live primitively? This piece of evidence brings much more mystery than closure. We may never know the fate of Michael Clark Rockefeller.
2,
For ages, people have been talking about this world-famous lake monster that supposedly dwells in the deep dark depths of Loch Ness, Scotland. The earliest reported sightings of the monster dates back to over 1400 years ago. In 1934, Surgeon Robert Kenneth Wilson captured a picture of the monster showing a long neck popping out of the water, which is the most famous image we know of today. For years, the image was thought to be real until Wilson revealed it to be a fake. But despite this discovery, people are still convinced that there's some sort of monster lurking in the water. But why? Well, because people are fascinated with the unknown, and with 10% of the ocean explored, that means that there's 80% unaccounted for, meaning there could be anything out there. There are many theories surrounding the Loch Ness monster. Many people believe it to be a plesiosaur, a creature from the dinosaur age. Now, I know this may sound far-fetched, as a giant reptile would have a hard time surviving in the icy waters of the Scottish Lake. But large sea turtles can flourish in the cold waters of Alaska and Iceland that can reach a freezing temperature of 5 degrees Celsius on average. But if they're real, why haven't any bodies been found? Well, new species of huge animals turn up unexpectedly every year, which are thought to be extinct. But yet again, these creatures live in a very poorly explored part of the planet, so it's up to you to decide. Do you think the Loch Ness monster is real?
1,
Over the years, the ideas of aliens have become more and more relevant with the advancement of technology. But way back in 1997, the same year that the great Elvis Presley passed on, a bit of an anomaly was discovered. Jerry Edmond was a volunteer researcher at The Ohio State University's Big Ear Radio Observatory. In mid-August of 1977, Edmond was doing a night of normal work analyzing data of radio waves emitted from space. The data was processed by an IBM 1130 mainframe computer and printed onto a sheet of paper. That night, Edmond was analyzing data when he made one of the most bizarre and astounding discoveries. He came across a line of an alphanumerical sequence reading 6EQUJ5. Shocked by the discovery, he circled the sequence and marked the phrase "wow" in red pen. But what was so amazing about a weird radio frequency? Well, back in the 1960s, two physicists, Philip Morrison and Giuseppe Cocconi, stated that chemicals give off their own electromagnetic frequencies. They concluded that if aliens were trying to contact us, that they would use a radio signal that mimicked hydrogen, a highly common element in the universe, as a form of communicating to us. The signal that Edmond had discovered that night was almost perfectly identical to their hypothesis. In order to understand all of this, let's understand how to decipher the codes on the printout. Each numerical value on the printout represents the intensity of a radio signal ranging from 0 to 35. Any number over 9 is then interpreted by letters. For the most part, the common signals on the printout were just 1s and 2s, but the wow signal had the highest value of U. This indicated that it was 30 times greater than the normal ambient noise in deep space. The wow signal lasted approximately 72 seconds. Even years later, and after multiple attempts in the same region, scientists still weren't able to find another signal as powerful as it. Was the signal just a rare happening, or could it have really been extraterrestrials trying to contact Earth? As of April 2016, Professor Antonio Perez of St. Petersburg College in Florida has a hypothesis that the wow signal was actually emitted by 2 comets. With the new development, perhaps the mystery of the wow signal can be solved, or it may be another space mystery for us to wonder at.